Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the final game of the first day of the NLC in 2023 summer. My name is Wida, and I am joined by veteran and Duckling here yet again for the final game of the day, guys. We have a game here that we're it's going to be an interesting one for sure, because we don't really have a clear indication of where either of these teams are at the moment.
No, I'm very excited here. I'm especially looking for fourth wall, you know, the new organization on the block as well. It's not an organization we've seen. We don't really know what to expect from this sort of org in NLC Div 1. And with the roster they're bringing in, I'm looking at Kamara in particular saying, I know this guy, I know he's had success in our ecosystem, but he was a mid laner back then, so how is he going to fare in support role? I'm excited to see that as well. So a lot of questions to be asked at fourth wall, and I'm excited to see the responses they come back with here today.
I mean, I want to see Snarby pull off an entire full map roam again 5 times a game, because this guy was an absolute monster around the map before. He did, quite frankly, illegal things with regards to his bot lane to do so, but these are the kinds of things I like. I like to see a guy push his limits in at least one shape or form. Sure, I would love to see some more 2v2, but I am more interested to see if he can translate this into the Domino's lineup as it is now, because I think it's a really good one. I think they should be playing more around Spooder, and I think if your support is able to get on the map first and you're playing around Spooder, then you know you have a win con and you don't really care if you're trading hard on bot side for it, right? If you're trading faster, you're trading harder, you have the tempo of the game, and you potentially have the game in your hands. I'm excited.
Yeah, and I think that's something we got to keep in mind as well here, right? Because you're talking about this, you bring it up, right? Snobby, very, very mobile support player. And when you are a newer support player in a competitive sense here, like, how does Chimera want to, like, address this, right? Does he want to match the roams coming through? Or does he want to just, like, try to really run down that AD carry that is going to be left in the bot lane 1v2ing?
I think when you see players change role in support, I think they often go one or two styles. Often we see these hyper-aggressive mid laners, for example. They say, I want to roam more, I want to play for the map. They swap to support, and they're all around the rift. They're like Snobby, because they're every single place you can imagine them, they are there. Or they're the more careful control mage kind of mid laner, which I would expect Chimera to be, in my opinion, honestly. To go down to the support role and then focus on the laning phase, playing for his AD carry, setting up the best possible 2v2s, and focusing less so on the roam timers. But I'm excited to see what kind of support player he turns out to be.
And in terms of, like, figuring out and being excited for which player someone turns out to be here, Domino's mid laner in Clover 7, that is something that we have had to talk about, veteran. We literally called, like, we had a call together on Sunday or Saturday evening, I believe, about this guy, because I was like, we have a Chinese mid laner that's only played in the League in EXO. Like, what can we expect from this guy? Like, that's for me, it's the big question about this Domino roster.
I mean, right now, that guy seems very good at playing towards his junglers, towards his support, towards guys who like to be aggressive around the map, and enabling them to do so. The Talia was the thing that really stuck out in my head when it comes to Clover 7. So he could just be a guy who slots really comfortably and really easily into the natural state that we think Domino will end up doing. But, you know, we thought there was going to be a natural state for Verdant that was going to be heavy towards topside. It ended up, I mean, Nile ended up having really big presence, but it ended up not really being a topside game. It ended up being much more of a mid-bot focused game. So, be interesting how Domino adapt. Maybe Snarby will be a completely different player. Maybe Spooder will decide to just become a Gragas one-trick on topside again. Like, who knows? But there's a version where I think Clover 7 will fit in very, very nicely and enable these guys to do the things that they always wanted to do last split. That could have net them some more wins if just a couple of things went a little bit more right.
I think it's all about noting. I think it's going to be interesting to see, like, what fourth wall are going to be coming through with in general as a team, right? Because as we're talking about, they were the last second, to a certain extent, addition to the NLC, right? Had a shorter time to really fit out a roster than some of the other teams in the NLC had. So really interested to see what they will be able to bring here. And I think that, for me, these are two of the biggest question marks in terms of teams that we have. I think that when you look at Domino's jungler and Shaquille, we saw him last season when he came into the roster have some interesting games, Duckling. But you were talking about how on the tier list stream yesterday that sometimes they tended to lose control after the 20-minute mark.
Now that's the problem that Domino had in spring after they got Shaquille in. they started looking a million times better. They played for the early game. It was fun. It was entertaining. And I really started to, love the Domino roster, to be honest, because I really, really liked it. And the problem with them was always that around the 20-minute mark, they started to make a couple mistakes. They would maybe make a bad play around Baron, which would lose them some tempo, or maybe even lose them the Baron, and then they'd start losing the games of that. And it was heartbreak every single time you watched them because they were so fun in the first 20 minutes. You knew they were coming out guns blazing, and it worked until they just couldn't win the game with it. And that's what I want to see change the split, because if they keep their good early game, but they're able to transition that into the mid and late game and actually close out the games, this team can be really, really good. I like the addition of Spooder. I like the fact that they've kept Shakail. I like Snappy still being here because he's able to play that aggressive style as well. I think they've made some good changes. And while I'm holding back to see what, for example, Clover 7 can bring to the team, what I know about this team is very, very promising. And I think they can challenge for playoffs if they are able to figure out the mid-late game part of the game.
I'll say fully agree. I also want to say,
Yeah,
even though I do like Spooder coming in hot, I do think Fionbun from before was a really strong top lane in his own right, and I wouldn't have mind seeing how he would fare with this team. But I do think it has an identity. Domino you could think of as like a Verdant Light kind of lineup, and it will be interesting to see how well they fare. Draven, Olaf are definitely not the early blue side bans we're used to. Nico we're used to, Zeri we're used to, the inevitable Lucian ban we're used to. But these bans, they seem to know something we don't. Spooder, obviously, a really well-known Olaf one-trick. You have to think maybe that's why this guy's called Two Axes. They've decided they just don't want to deal with them on their most comfortable champions, but it also does leave a lot open in the phase. If Lucian's banned now, Yumi's up, Milio is up, many things are up. Milio will be down, Lucian will be up. Let's see what Fourth will decide to do.
I think that we saw the whole Yumi aspect earlier on really be torn apart by the Draven. Right? So when you have someone like Two Axes who is pretty well known for their Draven, and if you want to lean towards the Yumi potentially, I think that just removing the Draven from the equation could be a pretty interesting thing to do here. But it's going to be a Gragas first pick here. You were talking about how Spooder kind of could turn into a Gragas one trick. Well, Molto is potentially going that route.
Yeah, it could also be a flex pick here. They just don't want to reveal too much, and they want to be able to counter whatever it is that Dominoes do. A Lucian draft, for example, would have a lot of emphasis on engage, and Gragas does give you an element of disengage. I also start to think about stuff like Kindred, right? Champions like this have a lot of value if Gragas is now on the table. So we'll see. It's an interesting opening phase. Lucian is still on the board, though. The Maokai is some nice point and click to have to deal with a Lucian. We've seen Cassante be a flex pick before. They could just try to match the Gragas with the Cassante wherever the Gragas ends up going, and it looks like they will go for the Lucian. They don't care about the point and click from the Maokai, even though Lucian, not the greatest track record today, or in general, people still do see its value.
Well, this rotation, there's not a lot of... This is a classic rotation, right? Especially going into the second round of bans, so you want to get that strong synergetic connection that we've seen so many times. Like, this connection is so old that I feel like it's been around since, like, Season 3, I want to say, right? Lucian and Nami being a duo for that long. Kind of been like one of the natural things. And again, we see the Aphelios being picked in here. Nothing really surprising. But now the second round of bans is coming in, right? And this is where the X Factor can really start coming through, because how do you want to set up someone like Clover 7 in the mid lane if you're Domino, right? Like, you want to ban out some of the ones coming through from the other side of the field.
We're also kind of gated at that point to having Clover 7 on something with a lot of AD, right? So I'm wondering about Talon, for example. Champions like this, that can have a lot of influence in that mid lane. Maybe he does get the Cassante and you end up with AP on top side, but I do feel like Clover 7's gonna have to pull out something weird here. They might have to give him last pick. They are in a better position to just go for support next and just save last pick and try to get as many counter picks as possible on red side. They're the ones banning the Yasuo. Did they think they were picking? Because I would assume that they would be the guys who would want the Yasuo at this point, given the predominance of AP on their team right now. But no, it seems that they are very worried about Ericsson getting this Yasuo pick. They've also now knocked down the Cassio. That's a Rod of Ages champion. I do think we're going to see some form of assassination Clover 7 in the mid lane, and it will be interesting to see what that is. I agree with the Lulu ban. Lulu would be a good way to get around the Lucian army burst. I'd assume the next ban would be a Fresh. If it's not, the game gets a bit interesting. It's going to be the Nautilus instead. So Fresh is open. Fresh Aphelios is a very common duo. Instead, we're hovering Evelyn for some reason.
Yeah, I think that also Clover 7 has played a lot of, I guess, played a fair bit of Kiana in League of Nexo, right? That is that AD assassin you're talking about. I know you might not be fully sold on that pick, but it's something that is in the that is in the wheelhouse.
Okay, Rakan has been locked in. Very strong champion as part of an engaged team. Very good follow-up on the Maokai point and click here. Very good ability to just decimate your entire team. To be honest, I think that champ's broken.
Oh.
Ooh,
I'd be down for this.
Locked? It would be interesting. That they're hovering interesting picks.
And then just gonna lock something boring. You know they're gonna go standard.
Oh my.
There we go. I mean, the Poppy isn't completely traditional, but it's a way more boring champ than the Katarina, right? I think that's
It's very common in the current competitive meta, though. We do see this every other game. It's a good pick into the Rakan, right? It's a really good pick into the Rakan. It's a good pick into Cassante. It's a good pick into Maokai. It's a good pick in general, and it also gives teams more control over neutral objectives. Now, the Anivia pick is a pairing that I saw once very recently, but it doesn't look like they want to go for it. It looks like they'll go for the Jace. The thinking with Poppy and Nivea, it's obviously the Nivea walls, and the Popster pins you straight into the wall. But instead they're going to go with the Jace, which is an AD option that Clover 7 may have been thinking about going in pairing with this Maokai. If he ends up going an AP option, it's Mercs treads the clock on the enemy team. It's a very easy set of itemizations for them. We'll see what he does. Could be an interesting one. I keep thinking about talent. It's not going to be even slightly interesting. He's just going to go for Ari, which is, it's like going to the ice cream machine and getting a 99 flake. It's like, okay, I accept the power of the 99 flake, but let's be real, mate. Okay, you're basic. You're basically the stock photo equivalent of an ice cream buyer, all right? And that's what we've got going from Clover 7 on the Ari. It's a good setup, though, right? Maokai point and click into Ari Charm. Good way to chase down the Lucian as well. It's a good pick. Very flavor of the 4 months.
I mean, I'm just excited to get into this game talking, right? Like, what really stands out to you here?
What really stands out to me is just fourth wall as a whole, right? I'm really looking at them. What are they gonna bring? I like the fact they were looking at some spice, but if we look over to the side of Domino, I'm looking at Chakale in the early game in particular. How will he bring out the action? What I most remember for in spring was the listen, was these early game proactive junglers, and yes, you can do that as a Maokai. It's not the most obvious early game ganger, right? You have things that are better than that, like the Jarvan, like the listen. So it's not what I would associate normally with Chakale, who is a damage-oriented, I am one of the carries jungler.
I agree.
And not the I am your support. But I think it can work. I think he has the tools to make it work as well. And with the confidence they locked it in, you know, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt, saying, you locked it in this early, I believe you have a plan for it, and I'm excited to see how that plays out.
Yep, I find the Jace to be the most interesting part of all this composition. I really like that they went for Gragas first. I really like that they wanted their opponents to start committing to a draft before they decided which kind of draft they're comfortable going for. There's a lot of one-shot potential, but there is this one thing that we keep talking about when we see teams like this, and that is lockdown, right? With Lucian, the entire composition is based around lockdown. If Lucian gets his opening salvo and burst off, that's all you really care about. A lot is on the Gragas to set that up. But, you know, we've seen Jace's just vacuum clean entire teams at this point, so I think you could get it anyway. Eyes on this midsection. Clover 7 versus Ericsson. That could really swing the game one way or the other, depending on how that matchup goes.
Yeah, and I think that's a big one as well, right? Because I think that we've seen a lot of new faces, right? And this is the first top division ERL showcasing from Clover 7, right? So you really want to hit the ground running. You really want to get out there. Well, meanwhile, someone like Ericsson, for example, he's been around since the inception of the NLC, right? Nordavent, been on Dusty as well back in the day, if I recall correct, right? He's a player that's been around the block for a while, and you have the complete opposite in Clover 7. And then also you have someone like Chakale, right, who we know Duckling because we both casted him in the Danish leagues. That's close to 4 or 5 years ago now, right? Like, he's also been around the block for a while.
Yeah, he certainly has been here for ages, and he's always been known for his proactive style, and it's really been known what he's found success with, which, as we both talked about, begs the question: how is this Maokai gonna work out? But I have no doubts he's gonna make it work with the confidence he locked it in with. So, if it doesn't work, I'm gonna be asking more questions and be wanting to get him to go back to his old style. But if this works out, it just shows Domino are even stronger than I initially expected and are less linear as well.
Yeah, and just a quick thing here as well. We are apologizing here. We do have a player disconnect we need to get sorted. Then when we get right back into the game, we apologize for the delay, veteran. You know, again here, can a domino here, can it break the fourth wall? Like, can they break our immersion into the game? Like, that's the big thing here, right? Because like, we need to get fully pulled in here, right? We need to be convinced by the fourth wall.
What is a domino but a wall that falls?
That's the point, I guess.
People out there are more philosophical than me. You can kind of answer that in the chat. I think there's a lot of things to work with in that regard here as well, right? So I'm just super excited for this game, to be completely honest. Right, it's the final game of the first day of the NLC. We've probably gotten more questions than answers today, right? By seeing these two teams that pretty much everyone across the block here, on the talent team at least, expected to come out swinging. They just lost, right? Like, we've seen a win for Vanir. We saw a win come through from Unique. Right? Like, these were not wins we were expecting to see. Will we see another upset?
I mean, it isn't fully a day of upsets because I predicted Verdant to win that game, so not every game has been an upset, but I think the match of the week was very, very close. Looking at it even on paper, I was unsure who to vote for there. The other ones have definitely been upsets, and what I think is the biggest story to take away from our first day of NLC so far is don't write off what you don't know, because they can definitely surprise, right? The rookies have come in guns blazing. They've pretty much everyone surprised us positively, and there are a lot of good stories we can start to look at and see how they will unfold throughout the history of this split. So I am very, very excited to see how those stories unfold moving forward, and I'm excited to see if Fourth Wall can start a new story with that chapter in the NLC. Hopefully a long chapter, because obviously the NLC has had a lot of changes. If we look back just 1 year ago, there's only one org that remains, so hopefully Fourth Wall have come to stay, and I'm excited to see their story begin here in the NLC Div 1.
I do think Fourth Wall's draft has gotten off to a really good start here, right? Like, I think it's difficult for Lucian to play within these ranges. I don't think there's even that much of lockdown that you have to be countering. So I think... Wait, have we switched the two teams around here? Or am I... Wait a sec. Or am I completely blinded? Alright, I think right now, if I am either of these two teams, I'm not entirely sure what I want my Rakan to be doing in this game. The issue with how Snarby likes to play early is that Wade be playing 2 would be the Ari Maokai setup or the Spuda Maokai setup, and I think in either scenarios that isn't really what you want to be accelerating. So on the side of Dominoes, you're thrown off in a very uncomfortable manner. So despite all of these issues that we could say exist in the Lucian Nami draft, at the very least, if Fourth Wall are all playing under some degree of comfort, they're going to have an easier time deciding what they want to do. And that's the big advantage that they have to have. Snarby loves it when you can just run around the map and make things work that way. But you don't want to do that this game, do you? You want your Aphelios to be steamrolling ahead. Your Aphelios is basically all of the AD damage on your team. And that's how you want to be playing out this game. It looks like Maokai's looking to do bot to top regardless, though. Admittedly, going towards bot side here would be a nice kind of cheesy play, but you're not going to have much pressure bot in the early phase. You're not going to get much acceleration done anywhere else, though, in a way where it's going to be beneficial to the rest of Dominoes. So Fourth Wall need to hope that Dominoes start to try to play to how their players are comfortable rather than to what the composition dictates. Because if they fall into that trap, things could get pretty bad pretty fast.
And as this early game continues to develop, I will keep looking at the minimap for Shakay. Look for his rotations. Where is he going? Where is he hovering? What does he want to do with this early game? Looking to go more of a damage-oriented build. Not a surprise if you know the player. And it was a surprise though that the fact was he has made a song with Jack Harlow. That's the guy who likes mobs, right?
I have no idea. You just went to the moon with that, mate.
Let me Google this. I'm pretty sure Jack Harlow is known for he's the guy who's very into moms. I've just Googled him. I know that. I've seen him on TikTok.
You know, I don't even have.
if you can't pick up from this conversation, this is gonna be very weird. Anything you want to talk about, veteran? You've had a good day?
What's going on?
Come on, just pick it up, right? Do something here.
Okay, Jace getting a lot of priority early. Lucian Nami
Exactly,
getting a lot of
thank you.
priority early. Gragas can basically do whatever he wants. That's why Maokai wanted to go bot to top. If Maokai went top to bot, Gragas could just contest the Maokai in bot side jungle. He has the ward there, he has the vision. If he had the knowledge that Gromp was up, blue buff was up, that guy would be getting invaded, much like you saw in the Ruddy game, Zapdos invading bot side against the Lee Sin, right? So this is why Maokai, even though the one thing he really wants to accelerate is bot side, is forced to path towards top side. What happens on the next rotation is what matters though. Because on the next reset, Domino's lane is pushing out, you're going to need your Maokai to help you there. Clover 7 is recalling off of this push in mid lane, matching the Jace recall that only got a tier, and it would potentially be in a position to TP bot, worst case scenario, where Gragas would just extend.
Also, we'll spot Chakale here in the bush, so that means they have vision over him. Both of the junglers have finished their first full clears, and the reset has already come through from Ute. We'll spot a little bit more AP and a Dark Seal to follow along the recall. This time coming through from Chakale after being spotted. We see Ute going back towards his top side jungle, knowing that Chakale very unlikely to be here, having just done the recall.
You know I don't have a TikTok.
You don't have TikTok?
I've never used
I
the app
mean,
in my life.
it's understandable. What is the age difference between us? Are you 30?
Yeah.
I've heard. Are you actually? I mean, it's fair to say that because one thing I realized,
on my
veteran,
Wikipedia.
it's I don't go to your Wikipedia, but one thing I do remember actually, right? You coached H2K in what was it, 2018?
In 2016 and 2018, yeah.
Yeah, because I
Both
remember seeing it.
years.
That's one. I watched a lot of LCS back then. I might have taken a fan picture with you if you won with H2K when I was down to the studio.
Oh, really?
So there is
That
a
would be really
chance
cool.
that. There is a chance for that. I'm not too certain. I can't remember. I have to go and look through my photos. But if you went out for the fan meets, I took photo with all the players, and I believe H2K won. Were you with them only when they were good in like spring, when they were actually a good team, or were you there with summer as well when it wasn't as good?
I was there in both spring and summer if we're talking about 2018, and I was there in
2018,
2016 as
2018.
well, where depends who you're asking if you'd say that one was good.
I mean, 2016, I was too young to go to the studio. I was like, what, 14 back then.
I just physically aged when you said that. I just aged.
Yeah, I mean, it's very weird to think about, huh? And now we're both sitting here casting Spooder being dominated by Molto in the top lane. I mean, that is a false statement. He's not being dominated. He's just down in HP.
He's down in HP, he's fine for waves, and he still has teleport, and crucially, he has Maokai moving top side while Gragas is making the play for Drake on bot side, right? So if both these guys are losing HP, nice rule of thumb, the guy who wins is the guy with the closer jungler, right? Which is why Jace is taking steps to try to control Maokai here, because Molto doesn't have the ability to just trade if Maokai is about to come and gank him, right? Suddenly that HP deficit turns really fast if Maokai is able to do that for free. Gragas will get that Drake. Yeah.
I mean, Shakira is pretty low here, right? He's surprisingly low from the clear. I thought it was full HP and he was going to go for the gank, but he is not. Instead, he's going to just clear out the Crocs and then likely look for yet another reset. It has been a slow 6 minutes to start us off. I mean, not a lot of early game actions, but yet again, I'm going to reiterate my point. If Domino managed to work this out and play a slow early game but still win the game, I would be really impressed, and I would be even more excited than I already am for this team.
You know, when I was really young, Facebook was the big thing, but I didn't have a Facebook. So I just want to say I'm not entirely sure this is an age thing. Twitter is like...
Facebook?
No, I never had a Facebook. My dad was paranoid about it.
Oh.
He turned out to be completely correct, but yeah, he was paranoid
true.
about it.
I mean, I was so young when I started using Twitter. Then when I actually changed my birthday on Twitter, I got locked out of my first Twitter account because I created before I was 13, which was a bummer. I just had 200 followers, and I was casting back then as well. It was a really scary time. I thought I lost my career.
Do you even like know what MySpace was?
I never had a MySpace. No, I was too young for that.
But did you ever like see MySpace?
Yeah. I mean, I know what MySpace is because it was featured in movies and stuff around the time, but never used it. Though. Yeah.
There you go.
It's a weird world, huh? 10 years between us. 11 actually.
Yeah, I have to keep saying that.
No. It's just weird to think about. And now you're feeling older and older. I mean, we're both using glasses, so that says something about the age diff, right?
What?
It's not that bad. We're both using glasses here. It's not that bad. We're not both. I mean, I'm aging as well. It's not only you. That's all I'm trying to say.
Okay.
And with that, we'll leave our age conversation be.
Okay. I'm just gonna put that statement down to your age. It's fine. Look at the free man going on in
Yeah,
mid
this is.
zone.
Oh my! That is nasty. That is not okay. This is not allowed. That is disgusting. He is gonna die first blood for Clover 7. Oh, that was clean, coordinated. That is what I expect to see from my boys Snubby and Shakale. Clean first blood for Domino.
They are losing out a lot on bot lane, though. You see
who
those
cares?
nerfs to the early minion waves happening. I want to see if a plate's gone down on bot, but Aphelios' head, unfortunately, is covering the number there. But they were definitely getting pressure down. Snobby is extending mid lane again, trying to, I think, enable a Herald here. But just by the act of showing, Lucia and Nami know they can get another push on bot. This is what you're talking about. Snarbe feels like his home is basically anywhere but where he grew up, like a typical angsty teenager. You must be able to relate, Duckling. And as a result, Fourth Wall are able to take advantage of that fact and are able to push 2-axes further away from that tower, acquire more plates, get a lead purely by just playing the lane out, because Snarby extended
really nice.
so much on the map.
Really, really nice play there, punishing Snubby's rotation. And as 2-axes tries to get back to his third, he will be forced away by you. Nicely played from 2-axes in the fact that he's not overextending, not being too greedy, but he obviously does lose a lot. On the back of it, Blink very happy with that, as the Lucian snowball now slowly but surely gets rolling, not in terms of kills, but in terms of gold, in terms of the CS and the plate. Clover 7, no ultimate here, Spirit Rush not available, Flash already used, Clover, good flash, but not good enough. You have to feel as Ericsson will take him down with the E, and he, gets revenge for his earlier death.
Nicely done there by Ericsson. No free man there to save Clover 7, only his own play, and unfortunately was not good enough. Jace now being on the board's big. He was already ahead in CS. He's going to be able to deny more. Clover 7 does not have TP, so Shackle's going to have to pick this up on mid lane. Don't leave Jace alone with a turret at any stage of the game. He will melt that sucker like he's doing there. 3 shots go out and almost a plate already given. He's gotten the plate, I think.
Wow, yeah, he did. You can
Did
see
he?
it's fallen
Just
off.
barely gets, yes, just barely got the plate. And yeah, Ericsson's gonna really like that. He has teleport himself, so he can recall late and extend longer in mid lane, and still be back in time for the next wave if he desperately needs to be.
And the small goal lead here for Fourth Wall. First Herald has been taken, by the way, for Shakale. He still has about half the time to figure out where he wants to place it. Where do you feel would be a good fit here, Vikram?
For which one to play today, I'm sorry?
Shakale, place the Herald.
To place the Herald. So I thought you said to play today. And I was like, what?
Ooh.
He's obviously gonna
yeah.
play in the NLC.
Hasn't played much today, to be fair.
Yeah, so in terms of Herald, I think you just want to open up midsection. I think you're definitely going to be losing out on bot side no matter what at this point. If you can open up the midsection tower earlier, that makes Fourth Wall's decisions around the map a lot harder. Other than that, you could just opportunistically place it. If you do get a good gank, this is an intentional placing of Herald on bot if he's doing it here. An opportunistic placement would be, I want a team fight here, this is the nearest tower that I can drop, I'm going to drop the Herald here. Now, I think that's also fine, but ultimately you
All the flash.
Yeah.
Forced out from
pretty big.
2x's.
Wow.
Yeah, as you say, I mean, just a dash forward. Throughout the explosive cash, you get a flash on the AD carry. You're happy with that, even if you do end up losing this play. Could theoretically be a 50-50, but it will be secured here by Shakale. Dash forward from Clover 7, and he catches on towards Chimera, and he's dead. No doubt about that, as 2x's picks up the second kill for Domino in the game.
We're not playing mid lane now. 2-axes getting on the board's really good, given how much gold he was losing by this plate differential, and this is the opportunistic drop. You've made a play on bot lane, the play has succeeded, so we're dropping the Herald here. Molto on the flank!
Yeah, with the deep TP, using those changes to get the flank early on, but unable to really get anything. The Herald Charge still came through. The gold, though, given over to Shakale and not 2x's, because he wasn't in the area to pick it up thanks to that flank.
No ultimate available on Chimera, Blink, or Ute. I think you have to assume if they were available, they would just try to go all in on the fight while Poppy flanked, and the Poppy flank would be more successful there. As is, you need to think about these critical ultimates being up before you go for a play like that, or it's not really going to work out so well, as Molto just discovered. Though you have to praise him for going for the attempt at all, right? It was a good try, just ultimately his team wasn't in a good position to be able to capitalize on it or to facilitate said play itself.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea. The execution wasn't quite there, but, I really thought, I liked it. Yeah, I'm gonna say I liked it overall, to be honest. I'm staying positive here today with the plays we are watching. Clover as well has surprised me so far, has some good performances, definitely hit his abilities when needed to, but we are still earning in the game, still much to be decided. Just a 400 gold to separate these two teams here, as both of them looking to prove themselves for their first game ever in the NLC. That's worth to remember. Division 1, of course, they have played in lower divisions just last split. Let's see if they can get a win on the board. They're not out of this game by any means, and if they're gonna win, right, they have to look for Blink, right?
Yeah, I mean, Blink is the guy that's been steamrolling ahead, but look, no bounty on him whatsoever. Fun fact, plates do not value themselves for bounties as much as kills do, or even CS does. So giving him all of that doesn't necessarily give you an easy win con to claim it all back. Whereas if Lucian was to go 4-0, you'd probably end up with like a 700 gold bounty on him, and that would be a really easy way to do it. So they gave him a lot of free gold on bot side there. They're not able to trade back for plates anymore with 14 minutes 22 seconds into the game. But map plays are now a thing. Clover 7 commenting being good around the map. Snabby 2!
Yeah, Snabby finds
There
the
they
pick, and
are.
obviously it goes over to Clover yet again, but on the other side, 2X's could be in trouble. Blink wants to burst him down, but can't quite get the damage. Now the flash in from Ericsson, but it fails horribly, and now Ericsson, the one in trouble. Clover though will fall, and Ericsson somehow, some way, he's out. For now, as Blink looks to go forward, looks to get even more, and he will get a double kill for his top laner. 2X's alive on a blinking HP bar. Spooder dashes forward, he has the all out, he uses it, but not on the right target. Chimera though will get bursted down by the Cassante. Shakel over the wall and back, and he dies. Somehow Blink gets the kill, and 2X's still alive, should be able to get out.
Should be, but he's about to show. They know where he is now, but there's no real way for the Jace. Yeah, there's no real way for the Jace. Worry. I'm sorry, I'm impartial here. I'm not worried if Jace. It's just the thing that happens, mate. Okay. Is 2X's Danish?
No, I think he's Swedish, so I actually should not like him.
Okay.
No, he's not Swedish. He's Romanian,
He's
so I have no
Romanian.
problem with him. I thought he was
Wait,
Swedish.
do Danish people not like Swedes? Or
I mean,
is
it's a long-standing rivalry, right? I think no other countries have fought more wars between each other than Denmark and Sweden. I mean, but last year I casted a lot with M-Test, and we really bonded well. So my opinion of Swedes have improved, and I was also at Malmö for the finals, and Sweden was a pretty cool country. So yeah, my opinion of Sweden is improving, but on paper I should hate Swedes because those damn Swedes.
Let's move on from that comment.
I mean, that's a history lesson for you.
Yeah, actually, I didn't know that there were so many wars between Denmark and Sweden. I have no knowledge of the history of that area. Drake's about to come up though in 37 seconds. So you want to talk about war? Let's talk about the war between 4-4 and Domino's coming in hot. Because I think Clover 7 really tried his eyes off there to land multiple charms and tried to set up a kill, but ultimately it was all for naught. Ericsson gets away with like 1 HP, right? But I liked... Wow, never mind.
2X is dead. I mean, he got a shutdown himself on Blink, so it's a 1-for-1 in a 1v3. Shakel now in trouble though, TPing from behind from Clover, so they might have to try and turn the play around here. Ultimate comes through, Clover still on the flank, unspotted. He goes towards Camara, he'll burst him down instantly. Could go for Ericsson, but instead he'll look for Youth. The ultimate completely with some Molto, and now they're in a whole heap of trouble. It's Molto fighting with Spooder in the 1v1. Somehow Youth is out. Maybe even Molto could find his way out of this one. He is pretty tanky, but the dash forward from Clover should seal his fate, and he will. Shutdown goes over to Shakel, second Drake for Domino.
Not being such a good showing from Chimera, he's being on the receiving end of most of Domino's plays, and that does open up the second Drake. It's only the second Drake, it's not the third Drake, it's not the Soul Drake yet. But still, if that's a preview of what's to come, then you really can't be trying to trade for the affiliates like that, because currently the most impactful player in a lot of these has been Shakel, setting up most of these picks, and Clover and Snarby following it through. This free-man that we were talking about before game as potentially being enabled by Clover's addition to the team, that has definitely been the case. This free-man's finding picks left, right, and center. It's going really well for them. They look to be the star of the show for Domino's.
And as Domino are still in a small lead, it is just 200 gold, so it could quickly change in the matter of one team fight. One pick even could really change how this game goes. You have to feel as the first and second items are slowly but surely getting there. 2 items on Blink. He is still the main man to look at. All those plates fueled into him alongside a couple kills. I built a strong AD carry, but he's not game-breakingly fed. It's not like he can 1v9 or anything yet, but he still needs to be prioritized. Has the cleanse available though, and with just 1.5 minutes on the Baron, you're starting to look towards the big neutral objective.
Yeah, 100%. How are they going to set this up though? Like, you have Clover 7 getting a really big push in on top side, and that can help you get vision out, but you're going to have to answer that bot push eventually. Are they just planning to give up this entire bot side? They have to do that for the next minute, the next wave and a bit. Not sure that's incredibly viable. They want to try and get a dive on a Gragas Nami. Doesn't quite sound like something that would work to me. If they're also trying to make an attempt to burn Poppy's teleport, I think Poppy's fine holding it for now, because she only has to hold it for another 30 seconds. That will be a tower bot side. 4-4 with Domino. They really want this dive.
There's Flash and the cleanse on Blink, so he just dashes out before that, doesn't even need the summoner spells, has the Gale Force to get him out.
Oh
Shakel,
my god.
nice sidestep.
But both...
I think that's a good trade overall, right? To get the turret still.
Both Snarby and Shuckle's ultimates are down, and
Clover
Clover
as well.
7's. That's going to be crucial for the Baron. Previously, they were looking to do an immediate Baron contest, but now I think if you're thoughtful, you feel very confident about
And
doing it.
Ericsson wants to abuse that, goes in.
Yeah.
Also sends Spooder packing. The Ignite gets burned by Snappy. No kill to be found. No summoner's burned either from fourth wall. And looks to be with the ultimate expended from Domino. No one will instantly go towards the Baron.
Yeah, I mean, resets abound. Domino's still looking to try to maintain their control, but you could feel the pain of not having the ultimates up, not having those crucial things. Ericsson, it's illegal that he jumps in there under any other circumstance, but these were the circumstances that you gave by going for that dive on mid. If you want to do that dive on mid, I think it's a dive on mid into a straight reset, back in towards control and try to do the dance again. The ultimates are up now, though, on the side of Domino. Snarbies will be up by the next wave. Whereas on the other side of Forfall, Poppy's not going to be up for a bit.
Yep. And the thing is, though, the Keeper's Verdict isn't really the most important ultimate in a fight, but it can be a game changer if you use it well. It's just very rarely that we see that happen in competitive, so might still want to fight even without the culling. And tidal wave, especially very important. Baron started up here. They are unaware of it. They can kill it somewhat quickly, not the quickest. And that's it's burning down, Snappy should spot it out. Yeah, I don't think they're going to continue this.
2-axis doesn't. 2-axis does not. 2-axis reset here is the big problem.
They know it's happening. TP's coming in. Shakel is there as well. No, they just wanted the TP. Smart play.
They got the TP, and the big thing that was abused here was the lack of Poppy ultimate. Poppy had R there, that TP doesn't matter. Poppy just positions so that she can ult away the jungler or the general contest that's coming in, and then they can win that fight. But because the Poppy ultimate was still down, it was entirely possible for Domino to take full control of Baron Pit.
It's now Domino on the offense though. 6,000 HP and dropping Molto. Looks to step forward here, looks to knock someone away, but he fails to now Clover on the flank. He finds a target that he wants to assassinate. And dude, so low, but doesn't fall quite yet there. Finally goes down Clover, continues to go forward. Finds the double kill. And that is the Baron secured for Domino. 3 massive kills in the game. Swings in their control.
Spooder doing a huge dive there. 2-axis getting all his damage out, and Clover getting dash after dash after dash where he needs to. That turned into an incredibly good fight for them. Yes, Forthwall were trying to play to burn Clover's TP, but they had to give up the entirety of their Baron control to do it because the Poppy didn't have ultimate at the time. And as a result, they ended up having to opt into a 5v5 fully in Domino's advantage as far as terrain control was given.
I mean, that was certainly a fight. As you said, I think you put some great analysis out there.
Was
the keepers
a fight, yeah.
would have been a very, very big ultimate to have initially, but with that on cooldown, as you said, lost the control, and Domino, they punished that. We're definitely seeing teams being able to punish each other's mistakes, and as Soul Point now is available, the game has swung into Domino's court, and if they can now catch the game, they should be able to close it out unless Forthwall come up with something. Blink still has the damage. He's still a strong player in this game. 2 items on Ericsson, but it doesn't look easy anymore for Forthwall to get back into this.
By absolutely no means does this look easy. Clover seems to have such immense pressure on bot lane. Jace is unsure if he can actually step up because there's just no control. Clover had the push before that Baron, remember, right? They got Clover's TP when Clover was touching the bot tier 2 tower. So all of this bot side jungle's in Domino's control. So Jace has no vision to know where the Maokai is, if the Maokai could be making a play on him or not, and just had to let Clover push in by the function of the way that the map is right now. And now, even more, he's trying to make a pick.
Yeah, Ericsson is in trouble. He has forced to use the flash thanks to the slow. In the mid lane, Forthwall are looking for something. They surely aren't able to kill Spuda here. He's so tanky. Now he takes Molto all the way back into the mid lane with him. And 2 axes just evaporates the bot lane of Forthwall. Molto running, but his fate is surely sealed here as Spuda should be able to take him down. Doesn't have the flash, doesn't have a way out. Tries to play around here for a little bit, but he should die, right? I mean, yeah, there he goes. He finally falls, and it's just a 1 fight yet again for Domino, and this time it's on the back of 2 X's.
I'm not going to say the macro is perfect. It felt like a lot of the times neither team really understood which ultimates they needed to be up for which contests, but Domino's are winning this game through that kind of macro, right? They had really good control of the vision on bot side. They split the enemy team up. They made one play on WOD side and then rotated really hard to immediately capitalize off the play that they had made. They're playing that balance setup really well, executed it strongly, and you know, what matters is that they executed to the extent where they're in a winning, commanding position for the rest of this game.
Yeah, the lead went from being a couple thousand gold to now a 6,000 gold lead almost. Let's see what happens here though. Forthwall want to respond. A TP burned here from Ericsson up in the top lane, and it's Spuda still on the aggressive, all out on cooldown, but he doesn't really seem to care. Still chasing him down, sped up by his teammate. Clover has used the ultimate, knows there is no flash on Ericsson. He's caught up and he's just dead. No flash, no way out.
Divide and conquer is the name of the game for Domino, and once the first domino falls, they know how to keep it going. Ericsson is down. They're getting the wave on top side. They know mid's just going to push itself for now. Gonna be interested to see what they do after they get this wave in, because you could easily put a player that you believe is going to be good in the flank on that mid wave and just keep having that pushed out and then try to threaten tier 3 off of it. But right now the play is tier 2 and they're diving.
Yeah, Blink could have been in trouble, but he's out to safety. But only for a little while, as Molto will be the one to fall instead. The mid lane, or the top lane tier 2 rather, stopping Domino from going further, but only for a little while. They will take down that turret instantly, maybe even look for the tier 3. The bottom lane on Forthwall alongside Jute, here to try and save the game as Ericsson responds in 4 seconds. Domino, they decide to go for the reset.
Now, no matter what, you want to be playing with that mid wave, right? That mid wave pushes itself, but it also allows you, if you have a good flanker on that, either the Ahri or maybe even Cassante on that mid wave, then they can get a good flank position to set up for what Domino want next. The inhibitor on either one of the sides, right? So try to play with that in mind. Don't be tempted to play a full 5-man lane. Just try to play a 4-1 here, and the game is fully in your hands. 1 minute 40 until the Drake. That is a soul for Domino. 1 minute 30 until the Herald. If they play 4-1 to bot side right now, then not only could they open the inhibitor for the Baron, but they're also in a good position to take the Drake.
Domino are looking really good. I want to go back to Clover. I thought this guy has played an immensely good game. Very, very impressed with him so far. And the reason I'm highlighting him so much is because he was yet again one of the players where I had a big fat question mark. What can you bring to the table? Well, he's certainly showing things that he's bringing to the table this game. He has been very, very good. And I continue to just find positive story in these question marks we had coming into the split because they're all answering the questions. They're all good at League of Legends.
They are, and I do want to say, I feel like it's going to be really difficult for me to decide on an MVP because for me, it's this free man that Domino have going. They have a pick composition if you look at the Maokai, look at the Ari, and if you look at the Rakan, and they've all been playing really well off each other in every single one of these fights, right? Here is that free man again, securing that tower on bot lane. Here is the flank coming in. They are keeping Spooder on that mid section. They're keeping this now as a straight 4-1. It's very well played, but it's being that pick grouping that has been doing a lot of the lifting on the game. But there's still points of criticism, right? Like, you could see how Snubby's desire to do things on the map did cause Lucian to get a good early lead on bot. CS-wise, we've actually never recovered from that. The Aphelios is still 60 CS behind the Lucian, though the Lucian has been vacuuming super minion waves on mid lane for a while. But that free man is what exploded the game, is what's playing really well in the team fights, and yes, Clover has been an extremely aggressive part of that.
An impressive game from Domino as they will secure the soul with Baron on the map, though. It looks to be fourth wall making a counter move on the other side. Shakail is there to go for the 50-50, and I have no doubt that it's something he wants to take, knowing his place down. Maybe even the fight here. TP in from Clover does have Spitters available. Snappy looking for the flank, but they send Shakail back. Will that stop them from aggressing further? No. It won't. Clover has the lineup, instantly deletes Chimera. What else can they find here? Fourth wall running for the hills, but there's no way out to safety when Domino chase you down. It is Blink falling as the last member. Ericsson tries to clear the bot wave, but it's Domino who won the fight, and they've likely won the game off the back of this.
Sometimes Rakan just looks incredibly broken, and that was one of those times. Snarby getting a 4-man charm there into a massive Aphelios ultimate, into Clover dashing the 2 at the top there on the back line. Very well set up by Snarby. They did all that without Shackle, without the Maokai, because the Poppy bonked him out of the fight. But it wasn't enough. 2 of that 3-man core remain. That was more than enough for fourth wall to fall.
Yeah, horrible prediction from me today. Only 1 out of 4. Regardless, though, what a game from Domino. They look sharp. They look good. I'm excited to see how this team stacks up. Clover 7, very, very good. 2X looked way better than I remember him in NLC Division 2. Snarby's still good. Shakail's still good. Spooder's still good. This roster is really good.
Oh, yeah. 100%. I'm glad to see that Domino have a clear identity that they're falling into. No, they're not playing super hard around Spooder, but this core, right, we were like, Clover 7, he's going to come in and he's going to play, at the very least we know, towards jungle, towards what people want to do on the map, but he played towards what Snarby wanted to do as well, and it felt like these guys had a lot of freedom that they didn't necessarily have last split. They have a definitive connection between each other that they want to be using from now on. I'm excited to see how this goes. But we also have some really good bot lanes in the NLC. And if you're just going to abandon the AD carry like that, I wonder what Liam Cole's going to do with that. I wonder what Demboxo's going to do with that. I wonder what Gooby's going to do with that, right? There are still questions, but a very good start.
I think that was a fantastic time. It also shows that the two of us, veteran, was like pretty right in terms of putting a lot of time into looking at this mid laner coming in that none of us really knew anything about because, well, he did kind of lack a little bit in terms of the CS and those types of things, but in the pick-centric play, absolutely great game.
Yeah.
And I think that the interesting thing for me about how this game kind of flipped on its head, right? You guys were talking about it during the cast. The whole TP bait around the Baron initially coming through from 4-4 when we had Clover 7 splitting in the bot lane, and then they bring out the TP and 2X in the reset. Like, everything kind of looks to be in a good spot for 4-4, and then all of a sudden they have to fall away from that, and then Domino just take over and take that Baron and flip the game.
100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%
I mean, there was a huge problem with that the TP that you were baiting was off of a heavy amount of priority on bot lane that Clover already had. There was no reason for Clover to burn TP and then go back bot. There was no reason. They had no other set of priorities there. So if you're committing to the Baron, you had to commit knowing that you wanted to turn and fight off that Baron. So the fact that 2 axes was still in base, that could have maybe given you the window to win a fight there, but because the Poppy couldn't create the disruption, cause the discrepancy in numbers to give you the opening stages of that fight, they just had to back off, and they basically just delivered a nicely leashed Baron over towards the side Dominos, who were like, alright kids, this is how you bait a Baron, and showed them how it's done.
As you were talking about, right, Reran, this thing about like the macro, generally speaking, was pretty okay, but there were elements where they didn't have the right cooldowns up, and this is an example of fourth wall not having that super important Poppy ult up.
Yeah, and Domino did a similar thing when they burned the Rakan and Maokai ultimates on that mid lane push, and then they themselves could not do the Baron contest because of that. They got forced off by Forfall. So both teams showed this particular very, very common lack of macro, but the rest of the map play from Domino was really, really nice, right? These are guys that love to split the map as much as possible. They don't want to just stay in their lanes and play out the game like that, and that really showed. These kinds of timings can be learned over time. They are most of what you try to get your team down. You try to get all 5 people knowing what they're doing on certain timings. These are very simple ones to do. It's just growing pains, right? Domino's could definitely be a contender going later on into the split.
Yeah, I'm just surprised by the Domino roster. They were really, really good today. The questions marks I had has been answered. 2X's is performing to a level that I think can definitely compete here in the NLC. I was a bit unsure about him after watching him for Domino in Division 2 last year. Clover 7, big surprise. This kid looks good. He's definitely going to be one to watch for me as this split evolves. And then the 3 other parts, they're still playing to the level I expect from them. I'm very happy to see this work out for Shakale, playing a bit of a different style on the Maokai. It adds more versatility. It makes this team less one-dimensional, and they now have more ways to play. The pieces they've gotten in look better than the pieces they had before. I could see this roster genuinely making a run for playoffs, which I think, compared to the other rosters we have, would be really, really impressive if they make it that far.
Yeah, and I do want to give shout-outs to Forfall there. This was a very competitive game, right up until the huge Baron fight, and honestly, that was just one team fight removed from the team fight that ended the game. They kept it extremely competitive. Ericsson was doing quite well in that mid lane on the zone. The bot lane understood the moves that they had to make in response to Snarby. They were in a pretty good position. There were just a couple of things that were off. There is a lot of hope there as well for Forfall to join Veneer, to join Unique in showing the NLC that we need to just expect the unexpected for the rest of the split.
Yeah, and to talk about this dominant victory, to a certain extent, after the 20-minute mark, we have an interview ready with Spooter. So, Spooter, in the top lane. I will say you're the best-dressed interviewer we've had on stream today. I will say that much. So, you're definitely taking home the best-dressed crown. Like, you're beating even the broadcast team here, buddy. So, how does it feel to be that fly both in and out in the Rift?
Well, you said I'm the best dressed, but I'm also gonna be the best top laner soon, you know. So you kind of have to match these things together. So
got to dress for the job that you want to have, right? Like you got to dress to impress here, and I think that overall here, your team, we came in here as one of the lower end teams of teams that we could assess yesterday on the tier list stream. You have a big wild card in the mid lane in terms of Clover 7. What is it like playing with him in the mid lane? Because that's something we've been spending a lot of time discussing.
Well, like you could expect, there are some issues that come, but I think if you see his mechanics, you see his shampoo, this guy is like a different breed, you know? He's the guy, it's him. So when we play with him, you know, it's like confidence, you know, being like, can we do this? He's like, yes. And then, you know, he follows up on a play and like, we're confident that he can mechanically execute a play very, very well. And that's what's so nice to play with him.
Also, Shakale here in the jungle, bringing out a bit of a different style from him, right? Because we kind of compare him, like we consider him as like a Lee Sin player, like these type of really super aggressive damage-centered junglers. All of a sudden, he's playing Maokai. Like, is that something that we're going to see more of this split?
I think there will be a bit of everything because we're we're kind of a wild card, like you said. We're not gonna play, just what's meta and stuff. Like we're gonna do what we're. Some days the Maokai will be there. Other days maybe Lee. Maybe we'll get a crit zillion jungle one day. That's like my
That
dream.
would be
But
that would be content for sure, right? That would definitely be content out there for the people. I will say though, like again, top lane. How are we feeling right now about like the state of top lane? Obviously, the patch is going to be changing very soon, but a lot of Cassante going around.
yeah. Well, I'm glad that Cassante's at least meta, because then top lane has some form of agency that isn't like Bruce agency. Otherwise, it's like Sion, Ornn, and like I don't want to play tanks every day. So I'm glad that Cassante's here. But next patch or 2 patches soon, they're gonna nerf him. So I can't wait to play only with tank.
Absolutely. Again, congratulations on a great victory
Thank you.
here as well. I think that starting off on a positive note is absolutely super important for you guys, right? Because at the end of the day, there are only 8 teams in the league, right? So being able to get these wins early on in the season when the teams aren't fully put together, like that they haven't fully synergized yet, is that something that you guys, where you feel like you're a very cohesive unit already?
I feel like we have a lot to improve, and once we've gotten this, improvement down, I think we'll be a top 3 team for sure. And once we keep excelling and keep improving together, I think we can for sure contest the top teams.
Awesome. We're going to end the interview on that note, and I want to say yet again, congratulations on a great
Thank
start
you.
to the NLC season, and good luck tomorrow.
Yes, have a nice day.
All right, gents. And I don't mean only you, Duckling here, also include Veteran in that one. Interesting to hear from Spooder here. You guys are talking about them making a run for playoffs. Well, Spooder thinks that a run for top 3 even is on the cards here. So that's an interesting statement to come out here from the opening day of the summer season of the NLC.
I mean, I love the confidence. I want our players to be confident that they can make it far. I want them to believe that they can beat the big dogs and make a big run, because I think that's what's needed to make this league more interesting. Last split, we had a very clear cutoff from our top 4 and our bottom 4. I hope that is not the case this time. I'm fine with one team being better than the other, or 2 teams being the top teams. But if we could have 2 playoff places being battled for until the last week, that would be so fantastic. And the teams need the confidence to go for that. They need to have the ambition. They need to believe that they can do it. And hearing that from teams like Unique today, now Domino as well, it makes me more and more hyped for how this split continues to develop as the teams continue to get those wins and losses on the board. And I can't wait to see, who in the end will make it to the playoffs.
I mean, you can't be the best unless you think you can be the best, right? You have
Exactly.
to at least give the attempt, and there's no way to do that without saying at the start, we can be top 3. They're not going to get top 3 any other way. But this does mean that they are basically saying that today's losers, who are natives, who are ruddy, who are whichever absolute randoms lost the first game, it's already so long ago in my head, are all worse than the other teams there, including Spooder's very own Domino. So big words by Spooder there. I hope all the social media managers out there for those particular teams, I hope you're there. I hope you get on that.
The Veterans run as the biggest Nord fan continues right there. We are also going to be looking.
That was it.
We have a speaking of being the best, guys, we have a nice little graphic to show the people over there, because you guys have been talking about the individual MVPs throughout the game for each game, but we have the overall player of the day vote going on over on Twitter, and we have some hard hitters out here, right? We have Liam Cole, mentioned by one of the interviews as well here, as from Dansman, right, being one of the big players to watch for the season. Gooby expected to be there, and then you have the likes of Voljo and Clover, these also newcomers to the scene here. Like, who would you
Give
pick?
it to Cole.
Give it to Cole? What are you saying? Danish bias?
Give it to Liam Cole. I want to mention, though, 3 out of 4 players nominated for Player of the Day are Danes. That's just all I'm saying. 75%. That's a good ratio. Denmark on top. NLC is too easy. Go next.
And also keep in mind, that's going to be over on Twitter at NLC LOL. We are also going to have to look at our standings, guys. Yes, we do have to look at these here as well. It's going to be a pretty binary split. It's a pretty binary split, right? In terms of there's only been one
I
gameplay
mean, what
for
you're
each
seeing
team.
here is a clear top 4 and a clear bottom 4 being formed. I don't know what you guys are seeing. That's what I'm seeing right now.
That is
can't
objectively
believe-
correct when it comes to results, right? Like there is
It's
no
objectively
nuances here.
true.
It is true, but I cannot believe though Natives have invested so much into this new powerhouse of a roster, and they still finish last. I mean, it's unbelievable.
I mean, also for the other side of Natives, right? They probably got their hardest matchup out of the way here to start, right? That's something we also gotta keep in mind. Hitting this Verdant roster first day of the split, well, that is a pretty rough one for sure, right, guys? I think that was a game that kind of delivered on everything we expected from it as well. The Verdant Natives matchup, that was the match of the day.
Yeah, I mean, there were some slow parts of it, but those slow parts were both drafts kind of being unable to force on the other until particular points happened. It was a function of the fact that both teams were playing to their win cons pretty well. It was definitely the highest level match that we got today. So I do, despite my memery, assume Natives Verdant will look like a top 2 team in the coming weeks by results as well. Obviously, until Domino's comes to, like, you know, just wipe all of them out. But before that point, I think they'll be able to sit pretty on some nice, clean, non-Domino's wins before there.
Yeah, that's what I'm really excited for as well, right? Because I'm excited for the games where we see Natives and Verdant play against the other teams who we haven't considered as pre-tournament figures, right? How is Natives going to fare up against Domino? How is Verdant going to fare up against Domino? How is Ready going to fare up against these teams? Some of these teams, you know, that we have questions about, how are they really going to perform? When we see those guys against Verdant and Natives, I'm going to have a clear look of if they can challenge our top 2 or not, or if our top 2 even exists, because Natives might just continue losing. They might not make this work out, or Verdant could just have a lucky day here today and show up very poorly tomorrow. A lot can still happen in our split, so I'm excited to see how it develops, and I'm really, really hopeful that we're going to have a tight and very interesting split here in summer.
Absolutely, and let that be the closing note of the first day of the NLC Summer 2023. Again, keep in mind that head over to Twitter at NLCLOL to find the Play of the Day vote over there. That's a super important one. We're going to be back tomorrow, same time, same place, 17:30. My name is Wiener. I've been joined by Duckling as well as Veteran. You can find them over on Twitter as well. Lovely people.
Please follow.
Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back tomorrow. Take care until then.